Hey, Bart Miller here with Cycling Strong. We're at 2013 Interbike, and I ran into a guy that I've watched a few of his YouTube videos. Most of you know I'm a YouTube expert, and we consult a lot of major YouTubers out there. This video kind of went viral, got on my radar, and I had to watch it because I was in the cycling space. And so now I'll let you kind of go out and do a little research, see if you can find that video. But as I watched the eggs and watched everything, it got me going, wow, Skratch Labs. Alan, great, amazing expert. So anyway, I started taking his products. I bought both of his cookbooks. Absolutely love this philosophy. Now, as I've talked on some of my videos, I've had struggles. So on my road bike, it is the golden way to go. Absolutely works great for me. On my mountain bike, I've had some struggles of getting food, being able to eat properly on the bike because I get so stressed out about everything I'm doing. And this is my first year mountain biking. So during Leadville, I didn't use this whole entire system, but I was asking Alan about some stuff that I think is really important for me. And I'm trying to get my glycemic index or some different things higher, and I was talking to him about how I'm doing that and get his expertise on there. So I'm gonna let him kind of take the mic, first of all, to introduce himself, give us kind of an overview of his philosophy so that you understand where we're at, and then we'll get into a little bit more. So Alan, once again, I know your time is so important here at this show. Thank you for taking time out for our audience and talking to us a little bit.
So yeah, I think that what you're really talking about is how to maximize the glycogen that your muscles carry before an event so that you have plenty of fuel on board in muscle. And that's important because in a lot of mountain bike events where it's hard to eat, you're really relying on stored fuel. And I think that what people don't realize is that you can really manipulate how much fuel you store in muscle in the form of carbohydrate or glycogen. That number can change from, it can literally quadruple if you do it right. Okay. Classically, you can increase that muscle glycogen content by eating a lot of carbohydrate in the, 7 to 10 days before an event. So it's about real consistent and mindful increase in your carb intake, especially during exercise when your muscles can readily absorb, those sugars, and immediately after exercise. Now, here's the deal, conventionally we think about simple sugars, we think about foods with high glycemic indexes as being bad for you. These are the sugary, sweet, types of foods, almost kind of junk food things. Well, immediately after exercise, they can spike your blood sugar in a big way. If you're just finishing an activity, those muscles are really sensitive to insulin. They'll readily pull that stuff in. So, in a lot of ways, the stuff that is quote unquote unhealthy for you are also things that can increase your glycogen load. The easiest protocol that I tend to find for athletes is that, as they're doing their taper and they finish off their last hard days of training, they start to really ramp up their carbohydrate intake. They're changing maybe when they're training from 50% to 60% of their caloric intake from carbohydrate to maybe 70 to 80% of their caloric intake as carbs. And what you'll notice is that over the course of that week, you'll gain anywhere from 1.5 pounds to 3 pounds of extra weight. Most of that weight is water weight because that glycogen holds extra water, right? So when you're topped off because your weight comes up. So when you're thinking about racing weight, you really have to calculate for all that extra fuel on board, right? It's kind of like a helicopter. It's going to weigh more with all that extra fuel. You still want to have good liftoff, so there's a bit of a balance there. And you should be A-okay. Now, there are a lot of little protocols out there that say, do this, do that, do this interval program, this combination of carb and protein, pair it with caffeine because that increases, glycogen resynthesis. I think while that's all fair, you can keep it really simple, right? You don't have to overcomplicate the situation. Eat more carbs, gain a little bit of weight coming into the event, drink plenty of fluids, you're going to be A-okay.
When you say eat more carbs, what would you suggest that we eat? I mean, do you have some, a little bit of protocol you can give us of things that we would eat or that we should look for in our food?
I think it's pretty simple. You stick with your basic carbohydrates, whatever work for you. Okay. Rice, potatoes, pasta, bread, right? All of the foods that classically I think a lot of us in our typical American diet or typical lifestyles are trying to avoid because we just don't burn a lot of calories. But if you've worked hard, if you've trained really hard, if you're lean, and you're coming into an event and doing a taper, you gotta put that stuff on. And it's not just about doing that the day before, it's about doing it in the couple of days before so that you can really maximize the retention of that carb. You've got to experiment with it too, because what you'll feel is you'll feel a little bloated, you'll feel a little heavier, right? Those muscles will actually look different because they're holding more fuel, they're holding more glycogen. So experiment and see what works for you.
Yeah, I like that a lot. One thing I've always liked about what Alan talks about is he never has something he sits and says, this is it, this is how you got to do it, it's the only way to do it. I mean, you really do talk about testing it, using things outside the box type of stuff, and making things work. And I know as I was at Leadville this year, you guys cooked for one of the, we were at the Leadville camp, so you guys were there cooking for some of the guys, and I missed you being there because we were part of another segment, so I was like, oh no. But anyways, when we were there and we tasted some of your stuff, it's unbelievable how great it tastes. And first time I did your rice with the blueberries, and I want to say chocolate chip. I can't remember that's in there. Anyway, and I think I had a little bit of salt in it, if I remember right. Anyway, so I had that in the back of my jersey, and I thought I tasted it before I went on the ride, to be honest with you, and I was like, not a fan. Like, I didn't really love it. And my son, that's most of you know, Kobe, that's racing really hard this year right now, we were both like, oh, I don't know if we're going to take this on the ride today. You know, it just didn't taste that great to us. Put it in our back pocket, so took it out there. I'm telling you, when I was hot and I was in the middle of it, I thought that was like the candy. It tasted so different but so amazing in the mouth. It was just, it was crazy.
Yeah, our perception of taste definitely changes when we're exercising, and it definitely changes as we're losing a lot of sodium and sweat. You know, what's very interesting is a lot of really fine restaurants have a lot of salt complaints in the summertime when these chefs are sweating a lot in the back of house because they're losing so much sodium, and so their perception of taste changes. They tend to oversalt food. They get more complaints. It all changes. So we like to use a lot of salt in our foods. We like that kind of salty, sweet, you know, savory taste. It seems to work really well. But the bottom line is, when you think about sports nutrition, you don't have to exclude good taste. You don't have to exclude whole foods. I think, you know, here at Skratch Labs, our ethos is that real food just works better, and that what we're trying to bring back into the sporting community is really what we see in the rest of the nutrition community, which is this movement towards slow food, this movement of taking your time and caring about what you eat as much as you care about your training. You know, we all have really, really busy lives. You all want things to be more convenient, but being an athlete is not convenient. And if we're going to embrace this lifestyle and embrace, you know, being strong, well then we've got to take our time and embrace all the aspects when it comes to training, nutrition, rest, and taking care of ourselves.
I think it's important too, just in overall families. I mean, look at obesity, right? One of the most talked about things there is out there. And I think I love in your cookbook that you come out and say, look, you guys, this is not for your average cooking. Don't be doing that. This is for, you know, this type of athlete. But you address it right there so that you know what you're getting into, you know what you need on the bike, and you're dressing it as an athlete should. But that being said, I know your guys' morals and ethics are back behind, like, you know what, you got to have a good diet, period. And when you have a good diet, this is what's going to happen for you. And when you're doing an athlete, this is where you got to go to the next level.
That's right.
Absolutely love that.
Yeah, and certainly with a glycogen loading protocol, you know, you're essentially doing a get fat protocol, right? I mean, if you weren't active, if you weren't physically tuned, this is a good way to get fat, right? But it's also a good way to store glycogen, increasing your carb intake coming into an event. You know, it's valuable fuel. I think that the misnomer is that food is about context, and everything that is ergogenic when you're being chased by a wild bear is bad for you if you're just sitting on your butt. Right? So yeah, go for the sugar when you're running down the street, but don't go for the sugar when you're sitting there playing video games all day.
Exactly. Very good point.
You know?
So the other thing I also loved about their products, if you haven't tried them out, when I first got their product, for my bottles, I can't remember the gentleman I was talking to there, but he said, you know what, we have a separate product that when you're around the house, you should be sipping on, not this product. And I thought, wow, that is good. I mean, their theory is not only in their products, what Alan just got done talking about, but it's on the bike, off the bike. They're addressing both those issues. So keep that in mind when you're buying the product, so that you utilize their products appropriately so you get the best benefit out of them.
Yeah, that's right. You know, if you're not sweating, no Skratch for you. That's the bottom line.
Exactly. So I thought that was really cool. Also, the other thing you're going to find is the flavor in their bottles was amazing. Now, I'll tell you another really cool part about their product that I was not aware of, and Alan can address this really quick. When I first tried their product, I was like extra thirsty. I felt like I was like, this really didn't work for me. So I wrote up an email, sent it into them, and they sent me back this paragraph about this long of what that was all about. And they addressed it. I went back, started taking it again, and started utilizing it, and they were dead on. So when you start with a product, if you don't find the exact results that you thought you were going to find, do not be afraid to reach out to these guys, because I'm a testimonial here. They did not know us at the blog, stuff like that. They totally answered it. They addressed everything. They were not afraid to say, you know what, I think you're looking at it this way. This is probably what you did, and they were right. And here's what you really should have done, and you would have got the results you were expecting to get from our product. And so since then, I've used their product, loved it, and had great results. So anyway, I just want to encourage you to reach out to these guys if you have those kind of questions or you need that. Also comment below, because we're going to give this link to Alan, Skratch Labs, so they can answer all that kind of stuff. Any new products, any new things that you've got going on you'd like to talk about or help our audience with?
Well, you know, we have a new flavor, apples and cinnamon, that's designed to be actually used during cold weather. You can drink it hot, you can drink it warm. It's awesome, but it's also really good cold. I love it. We have a whole line of other products coming out next year that you can check up on us in a few months about.
Nice.
That I'm pretty excited about. But, you know, the bottom line is that you're right. You know, nutrition is not a one size fits all. Everyone's different. You need to experiment with yourself. You need to figure out what works for you. And certainly we're here to learn as well. And, you know, we know as much as what our customers tell us, and we're constantly learning from our customers. The great joy of having Skratch is that we get all that customer interaction. We can start to solve problems. We can start to figure out what works well for one person, may not work well for another person, and we're constantly refining and we're constantly learning. So we encourage those questions. We encourage everyone to write to us. You know, you can call our 1-800 number. It's 1-800-735-8904. We'll talk to you on the phone. We'll chat for hours.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And the other thing that you've got to have is, if you don't have their cookbook, just get it. I mean, just get it. Get it in your arsenal, because once you've tried their products, you'll absolutely love it. Their breakfast things that they have before you go out on your event, I'm telling you, they are first class. When you make them, you'll just be like, wow, that was so good pre-race. So anyway, I've really enjoyed it. Thanks again for this interview and your time. And,
sure, no problem.
We'll let you get back after it.
Yeah, thanks for all the support and all the care.
You bet. We love it. Talk to you guys soon. Keep cycling strong.